Welcome to episode 45 of the Unstoppable Podcast with special guest Jody Jelas. My name is Dan J. Gregory and I am committed to hunting down the secrets of business mastery and human performance. My goal for the Unstoppable Podcast is to share insights from some of the most successful entrepreneurs, inspiring thought leaders, world-class athletes, and prominent celebrities to help you to become unstoppable in business and life. Each week I'll be bringing you a new interview with an inspiring person and sharing my own results as I pursue the answers to the question, how can I create the ultimate edge in my business, make a significant impact, and live an extraordinary life? Welcome to episode 45 of the Unstoppable Podcast. I've got something a little bit different for you today. I've been experimenting with Facebook Live. I want to give you the opportunity to tune in live as we record the podcast interview so that you can view the footage on Facebook as we record it, but then capture the quality audio so that we can keep putting out amazing episodes on iTunes, Stitcher, and all the different platforms that you guys listen to the show on. So what you're going to get today is a direct insight into what one of these live episodes sounds like. I've got an amazing guest for us today. There's no surprises around who it's going to be from the title of the episode. I'm delighted to bring Jody Jelas to the show. Now, normally I'll do the introduction offline here for you, but we do this live on the call because obviously we had a group of people on the live Facebook chat, the live Facebook video, so all the introductions were done through the live channel. So without further ado, I'm going to take you to the recording of the live broadcast so you can hear everything that we talked about. We're going to dive deep today into the art of funnels. So the last couple of weeks, we've been learning all the components of building a successful funnel. Now we're actually going to get into the mechanics. So I look forward to bringing Jody to the show. Welcome to Jody Jelas. All right, so welcome to the Unstoppable Podcast, Jody. This is episode number 45. So I'm going to kick off by introducing Jody to the show. Just for the listeners who are listening to the podcast version of this, this is broadcast live on Facebook, so we're going to have some fun on the show. We might be taking some questions from the audience, so things could go a little bit left, a little bit right. We're going to have some fun on the show. So to kick off, Jody is often referred to as the most transparent and authentic personal brand marketer in the business. She's the author of Ladyballs, which is a bestseller on the Amazon top ranking list. She helps coaches, teachers, and entrepreneurs to create an authentic online brand through video by being 100% non-filter selves. She then helps them to extract their best knowledge and turn it into an online leverage program with their proven boom formula system. And over the last 16 years, she's helped top business folk and online marketers to grow their brand globally and develop an online leverage offer and bring in millions of dollars a year for her clients. So I'm really excited to bring Jody. There's been a big demand through the Unstoppable Podcast for more female inspiring entrepreneurs. I'm delighted to bring Jody here today as part of our mega business series. So in part one, we interviewed Daryl Urbanski, where we talked about the formula for building $1 million business, where we looked at the numbers in terms of how many clients you need and the price points you need to use. Then in part two, we interviewed Justin Brook, where we looked at the traffic and conversion formula, specifically how to attract a buying audience to your funnel. And today we're going to dive deep into funnels with Jody, who is the absolute funnel rock star. We've got the right person for this podcast. I'm excited to get into the session. But as always, before we dive into the core content, Jody, I'd love to hear from you to introduce yourself to the Unstoppable Podcast. How would you describe what you do in your own words?
What I do? Oh, man, put me on the spot. Practice this. Hang on, I just want to introduce people that are coming onto the live to you.
Yo.
This is Dan Gregory on the Unstoppable Podcast, people. So if anyone wants to ask any questions, we're doing the double whammy technology. Just fire them away here on the live and we'll get to you. Questions. So introducing myself, what I do. Okay, I help people get more free time to do the shit that they love to do, and through leveraging their time and their business in any way that they possibly can. And what I've realized lately is, although I teach people to free their time up so that they're not having to work all the time, what I've realized lately is so many of us diehard entrepreneurs, when we do have free time, we keep working anyway because that is our sport and we just love doing it. So I'm like going, I teach people not to have to be at their desk, yet I always seem to be at my desk, and then I think, oh yeah, that's right, it's because I love this shit. So
Amazing.
I think we're all addicted. It's fun.
So I just want to take a brief tour in terms of where it all got started, Jody. When did your entrepreneurial journey begin?
It started with a problem with authority when I was really young and I didn't want to have a boss.
Yeah, I understand that one.
I think, at school I was into computers and I was into being creative. And the things that I was good at school was satire, comedy. It was the only A I got in school, I think.
Nice.
And computer studies, get this is hilarious. Computer studies at my school was not considered, computer studies and business were not considered an academic subject. So when I was 16, even though I had the equivalent of an A+ in those two, the biggest you could get was the equivalent of a C because they weren't considered academic. But It's like, what?
How
Who's
times have changed.
now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think for me, I started my first business, my first real business, when you're kids and you have a dab and all sorts of stuff. But at 21, I was living in London and they were making some people redundant. And so I started a web design company because I saw a guy, I was working in a corporate, and I saw a dude was on his computer, and it's like, he's on a computer and he's doing stuff with pictures. That looks like fun. So I went over and asked him what he did. And he said he was running the websites for the company. And so I went, sweet. And then I quit my job, did the tutorial in the front of a front page. Do you remember front page for websites?
Yeah,
did the tutorial in the front of the book. And then I went out to a free bank evening and told everyone I had a web design company, and I had the equivalent of Google. It was probably like Ask Jeeves or something then.
Nice.
They were having an e-commerce night, and I thought, what do banks know about e-commerce? And I went into the search engine. It was probably like black and white, pixelated screen. And I looked up all I could know about e-commerce, knowing that no one was in the room was probably going to be able to answer them. So I'll be the one. So I wrote down all this stuff, and then all night people were asking questions about e-commerce. So I wrote down their names and their questions. And at the end, when they said, has anyone got something to say? I stood up and I went, John, the answer to your question is da-da-da-da. And then I went around the room and answered all their questions just because I Googled it that day. Nice. And I walked out of there with my first 3 web design clients talking like I know what I'm doing, and then going home on the tube going, oh my God, I've got to learn how to do this and this and this. And that's how it started. Sink or swim, quit my job, started my business, and hustle. I hate using the word hustle because the connotation is to work your ass off when I'm all about the leverage and doing whatever you want.
Yes.
But that was very much a hustle day. It was like, just do what you got to do to get those first few clients. And everybody was happy. Never had a problem. I had that web company for 14 years. So.
Wow. So what have been some of the biggest challenges you faced on your entrepreneurial journey?
One of my biggest turning points in my business, I tell the story all the time. It was almost the title of my book. I had a business coach who, my whole life I've had a problem with people having preconceived ideas about what I'm about or what I'm good at or not good at on my appearance. And I've always had, I can't believe I have no filter, I've always had big boobs right from a really young age. And so it was always a problem, like in my business, getting people to take me freaking seriously because I'm like a blonde chick who had big boobs. And it used to annoy the shit out of me. And I had a business coach say to me once when I first started moving away from my web company, my late 20s, and I was going out onto my own, under my Jody Jelas brand, it's like my name, the point of no return. So I can't sell that company or shut it down. It's me, I'm the brand. So I got these photos done, and I was dressed in businessy gear, and then I showed my business coach at the time, and he said, no one's going to take you seriously. They're all going to think that you're just boobs and heels. And I just went, and then I remember there was somebody else that I respected at the time, who was a speaker who I liked listening to. And I sent a picture to him with my brand and everything. And I said, can you give me some feedback on the brand? And he said the same thing.
Oh, my God.
And I've got to find this photo because I'm wearing business clothes. I'm like fully covered. And I just had this massive moment in my business where I just went, am I allowed to swear? I swear a lot.
Yeah. No,
so I'm like, this moment of business where I just went, you know what? I'm so fucking sick of people judging me by my appearance and having that be a block for them listening to what I'm good at. And strategy was what I had always been good at. So for me, it was a massive turning point because I just got so frustrated with people like that. I just went, even more so, my rebellious, I don't want to do what other people tell me. I just went, people like you can basically fuck off, and I will just focus on the people that I can help who are going to see past any of that sort of crap. Amazing. And I think that's kind of when I strapped on my lady balls, so to speak, because just out of pure frustration, I just went, you know what, there's people out there that need what I can help them with, and anyone else who's going to be like that dude can just fuck off, basically.
Nice work. That's a powerful message. Tell me then, what made you make the decision to leave your web design company behind and go under your own banner? What was the driving force behind that?
That's such a good question. So quite often, a lot of things, the entrepreneur disease that we all have is that we want to do everything ourselves, right? And sometimes you have to at the start. So when I started my web design company, I was kind of good at graphics. I liked doing graphics. I taught myself the basic coding. I taught myself how to build websites from scratch. One of my first websites I built was an e-commerce site. So this was in 99. So I'm like there, I'm in London, I'm 21. I'm like, e-commerce site, and then go out drinking all night. Next morning, building an e-commerce site, starting at noon. And
you somehow made it sound fun though still.
Yeah, the hangover, while everyone else is going to their day job. So I thought it was pretty sweet. Yeah, and I built an e-commerce site, but I taught myself everything. And as I went along, I realized that there were things that I just hated doing, and coding was one of them. And the thing over the years of my web design company that I was best at was definitely the strategy. So I got to a point where I thought, I'm not enjoying my business anymore. When you can get yourself to a point where you're good at something, but that doesn't mean if you're good at it that you should keep doing it. It means, I have a test now that if my shoulders get tense, I'm doing a job that I need to delegate. Wow. Or I'm doing a job. I have this I call it my ADD, but it's automate, delegate, delete. So you get 30-minute increments of your week, write it all down, what you do every 30 minutes, highlight what you like to do, highlight what you don't like to do, delegate that other stuff, and just go through and go, what can I automate, what can I delegate, and what can I delete, so that the only things you're doing in your business is what you enjoy. Otherwise, you start not liking your business, and then you think that you don't like your business and you want to go do something else, but it's really you just don't like those individual tasks that you end up doing in your business.
Nice. That's such a powerful analogy. I'll never see the word ADD the same. And tomorrow I'm completing my Q3 planning. ADD. So tomorrow I'm finishing my Q3 planning, and part of that is striking off all the things that are bothering me in terms of the things I'm personally doing that I need to get rid of. So I'll be using that. So what are some of the other lessons that you took from your web design company into your personal brand?
So in my 20s, because I was in my 20s trying to run a business, I always had happy clients, but I almost went bankrupt twice. I didn't actually go bankrupt, but I was so close. And it came down to some silly financial decisions. And when I was 27, I think, I was a Businesswoman of the Year finalist. I'd come back to New Zealand when I was 25. And I'd got a lot of media coverage. And being the ego-driven 27-year-old that I was, I got this massive influx of clients. And I thought, yeah, I've got it made. I'm going to have lots of clients forever. I'm going to be famous. But as with everything, 2 or 3 months later, it all died. So instead of me going, I've got this new influx of money, use it to pay the magazines to keep talking about you, to keep in the media, to keep in people's faces. But no, I used it to get bigger premises and get more team on that were employees, not contractors. And so I took on this big team and this big building and tied into this massive contract. And with a big building comes all these other things. And so 3 months down the track, I had a fraction of the work and still had the overheads. So I made some really silly decisions. So I think that was probably one of the moves into being more laptop lifestyle kind of business.
Yes.
Not just because it looks cool in the photos when you're on the beach with the laptop and shit like that, but because it's actually a really sensible financial way to run your business. Because everybody I employ now are contractors. I haven't employed anybody in nearly a decade.
Wow.
And at the end of that, I actually got pregnant, and it made me go, I need to look at I think this was when I was 29, 30. I looked at and went, it's not about me anymore. It's not about making enough money to go and party this weekend. There's a human that I'm responsible for. Yeah. So it made me take a long, hard look at my business, and it was a massive turning point for me because I suddenly had responsibility. And I just asked myself, so over these years, what's worked really well and what hasn't, and do more of what worked and less of what hasn't. And I spent all those years getting myself into debt. And, within 2 years, I at least doubled my income 3 years in a row and had all my debt paid back. So then that was around the time as well when I went, you know what, I'm not enjoying this web stuff anymore. And my team had been so loyal that I literally I said to my web team, they'd been so loyal to me. There was even a Christmas where I was going, oh my God, I don't know if I can pay everybody. And they just stuck by me, and they were so great. And so when I went, I don't want to do this web design company anymore, I rang them up and I went, I don't want to do this. You got 48 hours to decide. The company is yours. You can have my list. You can have, and it wasn't under my name, you can have the list, you can have the systems, you can have the clients, you can have the recurring revenue from that other stuff. You got 48 hours to decide, and within 24 hours, the company was in their hands, and they still run it now.
Wow.
So I dropped it like a sack of spuds and went straight into mentoring and created my first program. And 21 weeks later, 21 weeks, geez, that would have been a long time. 21 days later, I was selling my high-ticket strategy programs.
Wow. So that's
goodness.
Yeah, I mean, so just brief. I've got some questions about that, but I imagine life is pretty different for you now. So what does life look like for Jody these days?
So I live half my time in New Zealand, half my time in Australia. My man lives in Australia and my kids are here, but I do week on, week off with the kids. So I literally go between the two. But I'm taking them to Australia for the whole month of August. So, like next week we're off to San Diego. I've done more traveling in the last 3 years than I have. And I've been to a lot of countries and traveled the world, but I've traveled more in the last 3 years than I ever have, because you can just run your business from anywhere. And I get the best of both worlds. I have my week with the kids and it's all about them and we have loads of fun. And then I have a week where, we can go nuts and do whatever we want. Next week, while we're in San Diego, we didn't realize Mexico was so close. So we were like, yeah, let's go to Tijuana for the day. So we're doing that this week.
Of course. And that for me is the beauty of the type of business that you help people create. So what I'm really interested to know is that when you got started in your new personal brand, you said that 21-day kind of turnaround from starting. How did you do that? What's the secret to that?
The same way I did everything. Just do the work like a psycho. Because I literally, I gave up, I dropped my web company and went straight into the Jody Jelas brand doing purely strategy, creating an online program. And I literally dropped my income, and I was the only income earner in the house. So this was like a massive thing. So it was a total, I actually woke up, I dreamed very vividly. I actually woke up from a dream and I dreamt that I was bleeding to death and all these people around me were in trouble, and I was trying to help all these people. And because I was trying to help these people, I was hiding the fact that I was bleeding to death because I didn't want the kid who stabbed me to get into trouble.
Wow.
Really intense. So I wake up from those dreams and go, what does it mean? And then I realized that I've been hanging on to the web design company, which I hated doing it for so long, just because I didn't want to let my loyal team down. And I didn't want to let down my clients or anything like that. So I'm like, bleeding to death, so to speak, doing something I hate because I didn't want to let anyone else down. And then I realized that, man, this is the detriment to because I had 2 kids by then. This is to the detriment of my kids, livelihood. And so I kind of just had to make some big changes. So when I did that 21 days, I didn't sleep much for that 21 days because I also had ditched my income. I didn't have the money I had a mentor. I paid for a mentor and I paid for someone to do my Facebook ads. But other than that, I created my own online program. I built the funnel. I edited, filmed my own videos. I had my daughter, you should have seen the setup. I had like the stools. I didn't have a tripod. I had all the stuff piled up with my phone as my camera. For 3 years, I used my phone as my camera to teach people how to create programs using their phone as their camera. And so 21 days, I hardly slept. I did every last thing myself except those Facebook ads. And then because it was the first time I had done a high ticket offer, it was like an 8K US program. Then I was having to do the strategy calls as well. But Kevin Nations was my mentor at the time.
Okay.
And he was so crazy supportive and was always going above and beyond. And so strategy calls was his genius.
Right.
So I remember doing the first, I had the leads coming in, funnel's working. My first funnel was a winner. But then my first 8 sales calls, oh my God, I stuffed up because I'm like there going, who's going to buy this? Just total self-doubt going, holy shit, what have I done? And then I talked to him after the 8th call and I went, oh my God, I'm freaking out. I've ditched my income. I've ditched my company. I've just spent at that point, it was 21 days going nuts. He just gave me a few pointers on the strategy calls and, just built up my confidence because he totally believed in me when I was doubting myself. And he talked about the benevolent alpha. So basically people can smell your insecurity and fear a mile away. So it was just about, nobody wants a leader who's shit scared. They want a leader who's, empowered and confident. So I jumped on that 9th strategy call and I'm like, yeah, I'm invincible. And I closed it. And I jumped on call 10 and I'm like, yeah, I'm invincible. And I closed it. Didn't close 11, closed 12, closed 13. And then I went, wow, that's $32,000. And then I thought, all because, he gave me a couple of little tips and I had my mentor backing me up. If I didn't have him there, it would have been a very different story. So, yeah, just those tiny little tweaks can make such a massive difference.
There's something I want to drill into there. So, and this, you've illustrated it perfectly, but at that time, were you looking at the words you were saying as the reason why you weren't making the call, the sales, or were you aware that there was some inner game that you needed to resolve?
Yeah, I was saying the right words. I was projecting it as a terrified little girl. What if this doesn't happen? What if I'm not good enough? What if I don't know what I'm doing? Just all the self-doubt. And none of it was true. We just like to torture ourselves and we're our own worst enemies. And the biggest challenges we ever face is just going to be that little voice in our head that wants to the good guy and the evil guy trying to get at you. But yeah, those little voices in your head, hands down. I see people who are so brilliant at what they do and they're so full of self-doubt that they're depriving the people that they can help because they're too busy listening to that little voice in their head. So if I'm dealing with someone who's doing video and they fear the camera, you can just reframe it so they understand that, we're so self-critical. And like I said, when I had my kids, it was a perfect example. I was extremely self-critical. I was always an overachiever. I was always beating myself up for not being enough. Overachiever in certain areas, definitely not others. And then you get to a point where you beat yourself up so much. If you can take what you're trying to achieve and make it about something bigger than you to give you enough breathing space to get you that self-love that you need to have, then suddenly, if it's not about you, you actually do a better job. So, when I had the kids, it was it's about the kids. It's not me. I need to sort my shit out. And then, so if someone's, let's say, and it doesn't matter if people say to me, but what I do doesn't create an ROI. If they're not making money out of what I'm teaching them, how am I going to be a success? But, what about the people who their health is absolutely shafted and their relationships are shafted? Nothing's going to cripple you financially than having terrible health, bad relationships, all of that stuff going wrong in your life. So if you can flip it around, that if you, especially when like camera fear is the perfect one. So if they're there fearing the camera and you can go, tell us about your favorite testimonial ever. They start talking about their favorite testimonial and they light up because they know that they've had an impact on this person's life. So then you just reframe it and go, well, when you're looking down that camera, and make them have a name, Johnny Smith. So there's the Johnny Smiths of this world behind this camera who have got the bad relationship or the bad health or the bad business, whatever it is. And you're the one that they resonate with. And you're the one that can get through to them like no one else. And by letting your fears hold you back in your business, you're depriving that little Johnny Smith who's dying to have you help them of what could be the biggest transformation of their life. So
that's incredibly powerful. I remember doing there was a Les Brown meditation. I don't know where the heck I got it from. I don't think it even is a meditation, but I had this thing and I was listening to it and he was talking about, if you don't do what you're supposed to do, then someone out there was put on this planet to receive your message. And if you don't give it to them, then they are never going to receive it. And you're not letting yourself down. You're depriving the entire world of your gift, your greatness. And I thought every time I listened to that, it made me feel guilty for not showing up fully.
What kind of person are you?
I'm like, sorry, Les.
Not you deprive the world.
But it was really powerful. It made a big impact on me. So I'd like to transition now into, let's take that 21-day example. So if someone, because this podcast is listened to by people who are, there's three types of listeners. There's the people who are still in corporate and they're looking to escape their corporate position and they want to take their talents and expertise and build their own business. There's the people who have just got started and they're finding their path entrepreneurially. And then there's those who are really raising their game. They're 6, 7, 8-figure earners. But for those who are just getting started, if they wanted to do something in 21 days, just like you did, and build a funnel, where would they start? What's the first thing they need to think about if they want to take their skills or expertise and monetize it online? For those first 21 days, what do they need to think about?
First and foremost is get a support crew on board. So if you've got kids, have a plan, like for those 21 days. It was back when I was with the kids' dad and he wasn't working. So I had him looking after the kids, making sure they were happy because I was literally busting my ass really long days every day for 3 weeks. In the grand scheme of it, it's like 3 weeks to completely alter your life. That was nothing. So I think just getting that support crew on board. The other thing is, there's no way I would have taken that massive leap if it wasn't for my mentor. So having Kevin Nations help me and, like I said, believe in me when I didn't, massive. Also, he had people talk about competition. So in what I do with building funnels or teaching people to build their own funnels, everybody's got their different areas of genius. So when people go, oh, such and such does what you do, there's so many people out here who do what I do and they teach internet marketing of some kind. I couldn't tell you a single person who has all of the same skills. So we all excel in something. We've all got something that's totally our jam, right? Mine, which was an accident, was I just love being on video. And so there's areas where if you've got someone who can jump in and give you that help, then definitely get those people on board. So you do as much, like I was lucky because I had the skills. I knew how to build a website, filming, I could video edit, I could do all those things myself. Had I have not had those skills, it would have felt harder, but people think that it's really expensive to delegate stuff. But there's sites like, Upworks, which was Elance, and I get most of my people now through onlinejobs.ph in the Philippines, where you can get people for work full-time for you for $400 a month. Nice. You can get really good video editors, VAs, and there's just so much out there that's not as expensive as you think, where you can delegate those stuff to people who are good at it. Now, Kevin Nations, he was not cheap. He's one of the best mentors on the planet. So investing with him was the scariest thing that I ever did. But as he used to say, every time if I made a payment to him, the next day I'd have an epic day in sales. And it wasn't about paying him. It was about, this is a massive commitment. So I was making that massive financial commitment to myself. So that was like, I'm paying you this money as a sign to myself that I'm backing myself. And even if I have those days of self-doubt, I must be back, I must back myself because I've invested this money. So when this voice is going, you useless piece of shit, this voice is going, nah, you got this because you just paid that money to your mentor. So it's all about investing in yourself. So kind of gave you 3 answers to that question, but yeah.
I think the investing in yourself is such an important thing, and it's a reflection of the mindset as well. Even when it comes down to the tools that you use, I just today was looking at some new tools for my business, new webinar software, because the stuff I invested in a few years back, I've just outgrown it. And at the time, I made my decision based on what was the best deal I could get in the marketplace. It wasn't what's the best software for my business. Is this going to last the test of time? Is this company serious about helping me over the long term? I made choices based upon my particular mindset at that time, which has evolved a long way since then. So I think when you take that step and you invest in yourself, you're showing yourself, like you say, like you back yourself and you value what you're about to do. And I think that's, the impact it's had for you since making that decision. Those 21 days were so pivotal, I guess, a defining moment for you in terms of where you've come since then. So I really honor you and thank you for sharing that story, because I think it's so important for people to hear that, because I spend a lot of time in lots of different Facebook groups, networking, etc. And you see a lot of people with that mindset of they're trying to bootstrap. And I understand that. I really understand that. But when it comes to backing yourself, sometimes you just have to draw a line and say, look, I'm going to stretch myself and make this happen. And the amount of times I've heard from stage at an event or on a podcast or a webinar, someone tell the story of the moment everything changed was when they took that step and they invested beyond what they could possibly afford at that time.
Yeah.
And
Mom and Dad.
Yeah. But it's a calculated risk. And you're saying to yourself, I'm going to make this work. And, I've been on strategy calls with people who have not chosen to invest at times, and they stay where they're at because they're not making the decision to change. It's not about the money. It's not about the mentor. It's about making the decision that you're going to make this work. And that's really powerful that you made that happen.
And it's like, so I started my first business at 21. I'm 40 next year. And so I did it the really, really hard way. And I'd followed Frank Kern for years. So I used to sit out on my deck with my laptop and watch videos on affiliate marketing and just go, wow, that's awesome. I remember there was Tony Robbins was coming to Australia, and I tested out the affiliate marketing, and I made like $6,000. And I was going, man, this stuff's awesome. I tried another one and it was a total flop. It's like, what? And then I did another one that was how to make your car run on water. I went to like ClickBank and got some random product. I thought, this will be funny. And I made $66, but I thought it was hilarious. How to run your car on water. So so many things I've tried over the years failed. But then, a lot of the things I tried over the years absolutely kicked ass. And to me, funnels is easy. Like I've got you can see on live, maybe I've got a whiteboard here. I've got 2 massive whiteboards over there. If someone starts talking to me about their business, I just get crazy hyper. I turn into like the funnel building Hulk equivalent, and I'm like whiteboards coming up with ideas, and it just spews out, and I get really hypo and I get exhausted because I'm just like, oh my God, funnels, funnels, funnels. And it's easy to me, and I actually enjoy doing that. But it wasn't always that way. And people think, like building funnels and that if you have a go, there's a lot of things that fail. A lot of mine fail. I just spent 2 weeks doing this perfect webinar. I put so much time into it. But every time I do a webinar, they never, ever do as well as my for free video series or my blog videos that drive into other traffic. So I know that video is my jam, and I suck at webinars. Yet I've got clients who are genius at webinars, and they I shouldn't say that. But they're not, like, blog videos is not their thing. So It's also kind of just working out what your jam is. And when things don't work, it's not a failure. Like, I've been doing this nearly 2 decades. So of course it's easy to me now. And when you stop beating yourself up and you start to focus on your strengths and understand your weaknesses and not beat yourself up for that, it's a completely different ballgame.
Wow. I think one of the key points I'm taking from that, I speak to a lot of people who are just getting started, and they're thinking about, to use your words, what their jam is going to be. And you can't think your way into discovering your jam. You have to go and do it. Like you did the webinar, you jumped in, you went 2 weeks flat out, you went for it, and you discovered that the videos are your jam. The only way to find out what your jam is to go in and do it. And I think a lot of things I work on with people is like how to get rid of that fear of failure or the fear of looking silly, because, it's the only way that you can learn. It's the only way that you can step forward. It's the only way you can find that special source, your unique gifts and your talents, and take your stuff to the world. But I do have a question when it comes to, say, video series or like a video sales letter or a webinar. Are there specific circumstances that you believe that each type of funnel works for different types of product or service?
Yeah, so it's kind of like I wish I had a whiteboard. It's my invisible whiteboard. It's like a subsection of what you're good at and what your market will absorb. Like what's good for depending on what you teach. So if you're in fitness and you're teaching an exercise, you can't do that by audio. It's like, and then you lift this and do that. It's a visual thing, so it's got to work for your audience, but then you've also got to enjoy delivering it. So you'll use that fitness example. If someone's going, right, I'm going to teach you to do this exercise, and they're doing it on video, but they're so terrified of the camera that they're like stiff and scared and talking in a monotone voice and really bland, then it's not going to it's going to be hard to watch. It'll be more like a train wreck. But then practice with video. So it's definitely that subsection of how people will best absorb what you're teaching. Something that you're good at, but something that you enjoy delivering as well, in a way that you enjoy delivering it. But then what people get wrong is then they think, then I can't be a fitness person. Let's use that example. I can't teach fitness because I'm terrified of the camera and I just come across all bland and boring. You can either teach yourself to be better on camera, because the camera strips your personality and it's basically you got to overact. So you got to be a bit of a dick. You got to make a dick of yourself to actually be good on camera. So the first thing I'll do if people come and work with me, like if I do a VIP day and they've got to do some film work and they don't like being on camera, the first thing I'll do is jump in front of the camera and show them the tricks and how much of a dick I look when I'm making videos, because you're doing all this crazy shit and then editing out the chunks in the middle. So when you feel like I've got this tangent, I've got this trick when I do videos to make the video job editing better. Like I used to script and use a teleprompter on my iPad. Now I'll bullet point what I want to say. I'll script it actually, and I'll have it on a piece of paper beside me, and I'll look at a line and I'll look back and I'll say it to camera, and then I'll need to look at the next line. So you freeze. So I use my hands. So if I say a line and then I freeze my hands, and then I only move my eyeballs over to the piece of paper, and I read the next line, and then I blah, back at the camera. So when my editor chops that out,
nice.
You don't even need to do an in-out jump cut because you were frozen, and the only thing that moves is your eyeballs. Can you imagine how stupid that looks? Yet little tricks like that are the difference between paying an editor a lot or paying an editor a little, and getting it done faster and just working out what works for you. So people freak out and go, like that fitness example, if they just straight up don't want to be on camera but they're good at what they do, get someone else to be your model. You have the strategy, get someone else to do that. And there's ways around everything. So instead of going into that beat yourself up, I suck at this, I suck at that, I suck at this, just work out what your genius is, what you enjoy, and delegate the rest and get people on board.
Nice. So for the podcast listeners who are listening on audio, you're going to have to come back and watch the live video, because Jody was going flat out. She was showing, you saw exactly how she does it. So you're going to have to come back and watch the live show. For those who are watching the live show, we're deep into the funnel section now. So if you do have questions, we will have the opportunity to drop those in. So type those away in the comments. We'll get Jody to come and have a look at those in a moment. But I've got a question. So last week we had Justin Brooke on the show, and he was talking all about traffic and conversions. And So let's assume that we've got a really high converting advert driving traffic to our funnel. People have opted in, they've subscribed, and whether it's a webinar or it's a video series, how do you ensure that people then go and see the video or show up to the webinar? What's the best way to get people to make sure that people actually see your content?
So with the hang on, something just popped up on my screen. Oh, it's just reminding me to exercise. With the funnels, in my eyes, funnels can only fail if you don't know your numbers. So like you said, you can have hang on, I'm just going to turn all these notifications off. Go for a walk. So if you understand your Facebook ads, so let's say the traffic's going well, you understand your Facebook ads numbers. Let's say you're doing a 4 free video series, you understand how many opt-ins you're meant to have. So let's say your opt-in rate is above 20%. Brilliant, that's pretty good. So then you might go, well, they're going through the videos and they're kind of petering off. That's normal. But then you might go, hey, they're not selling. No one's buying. But you can see that they've clicked to the sales page. So if they're landing on the sales page, if the ads are doing well, the opt-in's good, they go through all the videos, but they're not actually buying, then either your offer's shit or can be improved. You might just need to deliver it in a different kind of format. Maybe your sales page isn't done well, or maybe your content that you're delivering is giving away, is kind of getting them to a point where they're going away and doing all the exercises that you've told them to go and do. So they're not buying because they're going, oh, I'm just going to do all the exercises. And here I give away exercises all the time. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. So then it's a case of, I love my 4 free video series. They've always worked well for me for years and years. So that's why I give this example. So let's say you've given them all these exercises. They go away and do it. You need a great email sequence that just keeps bringing them back in their face, reminding them, sending them to the call to action, like all of the time. I used to do 2 days apart. Now I do every day. It's like I'm still messaging for 17 days after they opt into that 4 free video series. Every day I'm emailing them, giving them another little add value link to the sales page, another add value link to the sales page, reminder of something, link to the sales page, do something live, link to the sales page. So it's that constant reminder. And the same with the webinars. It's like you get them to opt into the webinar. You got to keep reminding them because we all get so busy. So in my eyes, pretty much any kind of funnel, that email sequence is so crucial. And I've got a 40 email swipe file in my Boom program of all the ones that I've used. Like one's about FAQs, one's about giving away some awesome information in it. But those email sequences are absolutely crucial. I remember doing a funnel once going, oh, my funnel was such a flop. And then going, I don't even have an email sequence on it. What a dick. I'm like beating myself up going, oh, suck at this. But no email sequence. You can't have it without the email sequence.
Is there such thing as too much when it comes to emails? Is there like an overload at any point?
Yeah, so you know how like some people annoy the shit out of you because they're emailing you every single day? Yet you don't unsubscribe because it's good stuff?
Yeah. Yeah.
My theory is, yes, you can overload them. It used to be, like I used to think it was annoying. But now my theory is, if you're adding value in those emails, if they know when they open one of your emails, they're going to learn one tiny little tip, then those are the people that you want to reach anyway. If someone goes, I don't want to see this shit, then they're not open to learning. They're never going to buy your stuff. And if they did buy your stuff, they're not going to do the work. So I don't have a problem hammering my list now. Sure, you get more unsubscribes, but as long as I'm hammering them with something that is adding value to them, it's a good qualifier. I'd rather have a little list, but adding value to their lives than have a massive list and, just have a bunch of names that don't really give a shit.
That's powerful advice. And we're going to make sure that people on this webinar, on the podcast, on the live show, get that link for that 4-part video series, because I went through that as part of preparation for this show. And yeah, there's loads of little toys in there. So for example, when we're talking about the numbers, the 4-part funnel actually has a profitability calculator where you can plug in the price of your program and your target volume of sales or how much you want to earn, and it will calculate the funnel for you. So when Jody was talking about the numbers a minute ago, you had to click on the link and go and see that because it's a really powerful tool that you can use, and it's a really useful part of the funnel in itself. So from that 4-part video, then how many emails do you actually have in the funnel in your autoresponder from start to finish? Do you know how many there are?
So mine have got different variations. So it also depends, because sometimes if you do a 4 free video series, it's evergreen and it's all year round. But a 4 free video series might also be an open close launch. So for example, I did an open close launch last year for my online TV pro program. So for the first week, I ran people to the 4 free video series, but they couldn't get to the buy now page because we just spent that building up the hype. And then the second week, the cart was open for those 7 days.
Got it.
Now, I don't want to scare anybody off Facebook ads. I had a little phase where someone who didn't like me, there's haters out there who have got nothing better to do with their time, still don't know who it was, but it was pretty clear. I had 6 right in the middle of that launch. I had my Facebook ads account shut down.
Oh, no.
So I got someone else to do my ads for me, got that account shut down. It happened 6 times.
Whoa.
So I had to do that 2-week launch with no ads. And I was like going, why is this happening? How is it possible that there was 6 Facebook ads accounts that were doing my stuff get shut down? And then they made it pretty clear that someone who didn't like me was reporting anytime they saw my face, report. And I got to a point where I'm just like going, whatever, haters. And then I started going, this is breaking my launch and this is taking money away from my children. And it got me mad. But when I changed my targets, it stopped happening. Facebook account's been live for nearly a year now with no problems. So it was really clear statistically, and talking to Facebook ad experts, that just somebody had it in for me and was just killing my launch. But still a great launch. It went really well. But would have been a whole lot better if I was able to run Facebook ads in that launch. So shit happens.
Wow. Well, at least you got it resolved. So I'm just curious. I don't have the live screen. Do we have any questions from our live listeners?
Whoa, okay. Let me have a look. Lots of comments. All right. We haven't got questions. We got lots of comments though. Hi. We got lots of comments though.
Whoop, just played it loud.
Just echoing me. Cool. No questions, just lots of comments.
So I've got a question for you then. So when is it appropriate to use strategy sessions as part of your funnel, or consultations, or free calls?
So it depends, right? So I used to say that if you're selling something that's over $2,000, get on the phone with them. But, if you've got a list and you've been around for a while, we did retreats that were $5,000. A Bali retreat was $5,000, and the price was on the sales page, and the button said, if you want to talk to us about it, jump on the phone. So we sold it that way.
Wow.
But there was 3 of us doing it, and we had lists, and we had built up relationships with that list over a long period of time, and we only needed like 5 people. If you're new to it and you're selling a $1,500 program, then some people will say don't jump on the phone for a $1,500 program. But if you're new to this, just get on the phone with them. And because for some people, closing a $1,500 sale is massive to them. If they did one of those a week, that's a massive income change. That could be them leaving their job and going and doing this full time. So jump on the phone. Just do whatever you got to do to close it at the end of the day. Like, you might have a good funnel, and at the end, if it's a, say, over $1,500 program, you get on the phone. Less than that, you might do a sales page. But even on your sales page, if you're new, then have somewhere where they can contact you by email and answer some questions. Just get in there and do what you got to do to get the sales to start with.
So I've got 3 final quick fire questions to close off the show. But before we do that, I'd be really interested. You've got some amazing stuff going on right now. I know that there's a couple of awesome live events lined up, and I've seen some stories about some of the domain names you've been buying for your latest launch. So could you just share a little bit with the Unstoppable podcast and our live viewers today, what you've got coming up, what's going on, and how people can get involved with what you're doing right now?
Yeah, sure. So this week being the 4th of July week, so my event is in San Diego next weekend, and it's my Leveraged Live event. So if you go to leveragelive.com, there's one in San Diego, and then there's one on the Gold Coast in Australia coming up as well. But what's happening after those is I'm bringing out a documentary, which is Leveraged the movie.
Wow.
And after that, we've got Leveraged Club. So my all my best stuff that I've ever done, I'm Mac Daddy-ifying it and making a completely new program. So what I've done this week for the 4th of July week, and it ends this Friday, is I've bundled together all my programs. So Boom, Offer Incubator, and Online TV Pro. So that's especially if you're a newbie, it's everything from getting yourself out there, building your brand, setting your goals, right through to your sales funnels and conversion rates and how to do those calls. And it's a one-stop shop, everything you need all in one bundle. And so I bought the domain name Big Ass Bundle. So if you go to bigassbundle.com, you can see that bundle of all that stuff and everything that's included. So especially for the newbies or people who have been trying to do it themselves and might not be in a position yet to invest in a higher end mentor one-on-one, then yeah, that's the perfect kind of thing. But if you just want to go along to check out the live event, go to leveragedlive.com. But if anyone's listening to the recording of this as well, once those offers close or the event's over, they'll be forwarding through to my video blogs anyway. So you'll be able to, if you jump on any of the wait lists, you'll be getting the free videos every week that I do and getting notified when we're doing more cool shows like this one.
Awesome. So for the Unstoppable listeners today, you've got a sneak preview about what's to come. For those watching live today, jump the gun and be one of the first to take advantage of that. And if you're listening to the episode from Thursday, the episode goes live this Thursday. If you're listening now, then do go and check those out. As Jody says, they close off this Friday, but make sure you subscribe and stay in touch because there's so much great content. I've been a big fan of Jody's for a long time now. Her content's been really useful to me, especially some of the videos that she's put out there. So really, really powerful stuff. So Jody, I'm going to now step into the final 3 power questions to end the show today.
Okay.
Rapid fire round. So number 1 is, rather than ask the question knowing, the classic question of knowing what you know now, going back, what would you do? My simple question is, if you were able to meet your younger self, you can pick the age, whether it's like 16, 20, 21, whatever. What advice would you give to your younger self right now?
The only thing that it's okay to fake is your confidence. So when you are full of self-doubt, and you're not feeling confident, fake that. You can pretend that you're confident until you're convinced that you're confident, and then you are confident. So I'm all about authenticity and being honest and straight up and, not faking shit, but fake your confidence until the cows come home, until you're confident.
Nice. My second question is, what is the most powerful or impactful business or personal development book that you've ever read?
Easy. Stephen Pressfield, Do the Work. I have like a ton of copies on the shelf behind me here. And the way I laid out Ladyballs was based on that book because it's like Ladyballs is a 2-hour read because I made it massive font and all the best parts are in giant font.
They're my favorite kind of books. They're my favorite kind. What was the biggest lesson you took from that book? What stood out the most for you?
Because I'm a person who's quite hard on myself, what I liked was how it took resistance and it made it not you. So when you are beating yourself up, or you're in self-doubt, that resistance, there's you and there's resistance, technically the dragon, according to the book, and you're slaying the dragon. So it's not like, oh, you're beating yourself up because I haven't done this or I'm resisting this or da-da-da-da. It takes that away from you. So it's like this other thing. So, yeah.
Nice.
That makes sense.
Slay the beast. It does make sense.
Slay the dragon.
Nice. And the final question is, what does it mean to be unstoppable to you?
You can only fail if you give up. So, if one thing doesn't work, just try a different path. But for your big vision and your big dreams, just don't give up. Just keep finding those different ways. If you can't get in that way, get in that way or get in that way. And then other opportunities will just fall in your lap. Just don't give up. Amazing. Well, Jody, thank you so much for unleashing your greatness on the Unstoppable podcast today. It's been an immensely fun episode. I hope the guys watching live have enjoyed the session today and the guys listening on the podcast have enjoyed the session as well. We will put the link to the live show in the podcast show notes as well so that you can go back and see the full immersive experience so that when Jody was talking about her video tricks, you can go and have a look at those on the screen. And we'll make sure all the links to the bigassbundle.com and the Leveraged Live event is there.
And what's your primary domain then, Jody, if they want to subscribe to your...
Sure. If you just want to go watch me be a dick on camera and teach some stuff, go to jodyjelas.com.
Awesome. Jody, it's been an absolute pleasure, a lot of fun interviewing today. I've really enjoyed the show. Thank you so much for your time, your wisdom, and your energy. Just the final thing is just a huge thank you to Jody, because it was 7 a.m. her time when we kicked this off. Yeah. So she's fired up for the day, but she missed her workout and her walk for the show. So thank you so much. I appreciate the time.
Now, there are some questions coming up on the live, so I'm going to go over and answer them now on there. I'll type away. So if anyone's got any questions, keep firing them over on the live.
Cool. I mean, I'm happy to, if you want to do them live on the camera, you can, or if you got to go, then.
Let's see. There's a few now. Oh, wow. If you had a low budget and you're just starting out and know you have loads of good stuff to share, how would you prioritize, and would you say it's a waste of time to do a funnel if you don't know what you're doing yet? So if you're on a low budget, cash flow is key, right? So what's the low-hanging fruit? It's hard to answer questions without knowing the offer, but whether it's a high-ticket, low-ticket offer, if you're on a low budget, cash flow is obviously tight. Do whatever you've got to do to jump on the phone. So you don't have to jump down people's throats. Just ask some people some questions. It's amazing what doing a post on Facebook, like let's say you're, sorry, I don't know what your business is. So let's say your business is teaching people something about, okay, so I've got a client who helps people with relationship stuff. If you go and ask a question on Facebook, looking for 2 people who I can help achieve da-da-da-da-da in their relationship, find their soulmate, improve their marriage, whatever it is, with a specific one thing that you help people with. If you have a tiny list and send an email to them going, do you still want help with whatever it is that you do, and do the same on Facebook, someone will come back to you, which is permission-based marketing, because you've asked them, you've kind of started it, then they come back to you and go, yeah, I want help with that. Then you can turn around and start a dialogue, start a conversation. Ask them what their biggest challenge is. Just go and ask that on Facebook. Get them to private message you what their biggest challenge is. Just get into some dialogue with some people. Funnels are great, but if you just want to get low-hanging fruit, you could just send the one-liner email or the one-liner post, and that can help you get your first clients. You'll be amazed at how many people engage in that kind of thing. And
Jody, there's a question on there about someone was taking a look at the bundle and they feel that they really a need for feedback and someone to hold them accountable, so they weren't sure if the offer's right for them.
There's 2 sides to that. So in the bundle, you get access to the Boom private Facebook group. So all the other boomers are in there, and myself and my team are in there answering questions in the Facebook group as well. So every day you've got people in there supporting you, and it's a really active group as well. So whenever you need that support. The other thing is, I've kind of got 3 levels of clients. I've got the people who that bundle would work for, because that might be where they're at the start. Then I've got people who just want, I stopped doing my private coaching, but I'm actually doing it again now. In fact, there's the coaching with me directly for 3 months, and then there's the full shebang. We build your funnels, we run your traffic, the whole shebang for a full year. So there are opportunities to work with me directly. Just private message me on Facebook or email support@jodyjelas.com, or go to my website. Just message me any way you can, and we can chat if you're more down that road.
Awesome stuff. Well, thanks again, Jody. Thank you for answering the questions as well. I'll let you take the rest offline, and thanks again for your time.
Cool. Thank you.
All right, folks, I hope you got immense value from today's episodes. I'm really interested in hearing your feedback about the live format on the podcast. It has a bit of a different dynamic to the usual audio interviews, so please leave me your comments on the show notes over at danjgregory.com/45 or connect with me on Facebook. I know just from spending a little time with Jody today that she is someone I would be honored to work with in the future. So if you're listening to this before the 8th of July, 2016, then make sure you check out Jody's amazing offer at bigassbundle.com. I've got absolutely no financial incentive to share this with you, but I wholly endorse Jody's work. In addition, if you're on the West Coast of the United States or the Gold Coast of Australia, check out Jody's Leverage Live event at leveragelive.com. For those of you listening in the future, you can find out what Jody is up to at jodyjelas.com, where she hosts an amazing video blog, so be sure to check it out. All the links mentioned in today's show will be in the show notes. Now, coming up on Monday, I'll be doing my own debrief on today's episode and sharing exactly how I'll be implementing some of the great strategies from our time together with Jody today. And I'm also going to be doing a feature on the Wales football team, that's soccer for any of Jody's tribe down under, who against all the odds made it to the semi-finals of the European Football Championships. There are some powerful success lessons to be shared, so be sure to tune in to check that out. Next Thursday, I've got the final installment of the Mega Business Series with Ben Simpkin, who has generated over $1.45 billion in increased sales for his clients over the past 10 years. He's going to come on the show and share his secrets to building a quality Facebook ad campaign and share how to generate more leads for your business. So you're going to want to check that out. But that's all we have for now. Until next time, go out there, unleash your greatness, build your empire, and live your ultimate life. You are unstoppable.